Hello, my beautifully twisted souls. I am Helia Firefly, your resident submissive, Sam, Fire Top, Rope Bunny, and a couple of other little things twisted up in there. And I am the owner of the BDSM educational group, Twisted Elegance, out of North Carolina. And I'd like to welcome you to our weekly podcast where we educate you on the BDSM lifestyle and teach you how to work on yourself and be the best you that you can in this journey. As always, I say nothing is cookie cutter. What we teach you here, what we say here, is a lot based off of our education, reading, and a lot of it is our experiences. We give you the basics, and you go from there. You can't build a house from the roof down. You got to build from the foundation up. So we're here to give you the information, and then you take that and you build your dynamic, or you navigate within this lifestyle how you choose. I'm here tonight with one of Twisted Elegance's group members, Ms. Lacey. She is our resident, as we say, lesbian gamer. She is a little upset. Of course, she's a submissive, and we got her here to help us go over some of the roles that I'm not too well versed in. Ms. Lacey?
Hi, people.
All right. We're just going to go through some of what BDSM is today. And we're going to kind of keep it. Our basic format for our podcast every week is going to be basically, we'll do about 30, 40 minutes of foundational things, taking questions, answering questions, giving information. And then we'll take about maybe 30 minutes to do our U work to give you things to think about during the week to better yourself, get to know who you are. As I always say, this is something that before you step into it, it's best to know who you are, why you're here, what you're looking for, what BDSM can be to you. So basically, we'll start from the beginning.
Wait, you to get into it.
Okay, so we basically know what BDSM stands for. What is it, Lacey?
Bondage, dominance,
Mm-hmm.
sadism, and masochism.
Yeah, the word I can't say, masochism. All
That's
right.
my favorite.
So, yeah, that's your favorite word. You get excited every time. Masochism, bondage and discipline, dominant, submissive, and sadism and masochism. We know what bondage is: ropes, canes, things like leather straps, handcuffs, anything that is used to restrict a person's sense of freedom or movement, which allows for that top to have control. We understand that BDSM is a blanket term that stands for, the practices of kinks that are built up on the power dynamics between consenting adults. And that's the operative word, consenting adults. We always stress that. I think next episode we'll probably get into consent and vetting and things like that. So put that in the back of your mind, consent. It's always important to get consent in whatever we do. You got your discipline. A lot of people say, well, we're adults. Why are we being disciplined?
Because discipline is fun, people. That's why.
She thinks discipline is fun. Yeah, it can be.
It also can suck.
Yeah. So in DS dynamics, there are things that are set forth, rules that are set in place that a submissive is to follow. It could be anything like how you're supposed to greet your dominant when they enter the room. It could be anything to where during the day you have check-ins or you have like journaling or things like that that you're required to do. It could be
your to-dos, not to-dos.
Say it again.
It's your to-dos and not to-dos.
Yeah, basically. There are rules that are set in place. So the discipline comes in where, of course, if you don't follow those rules, then there is the disciplinary actions that are taken. It can be anything from
the spank,
a physical action like flogging or spanking or anything like that. It can be more rules on top of the rules that you transgress. For me, it would be something I hate, sending me to the corner, telling me to put my nose in the corner and squat for 5 minutes, something like that. Yeah, I would I'm never going to do that again.
For me, it's time out in the corner, just time out, period. Just being in here. I hate that.
Yeah. So any type of punishment for Any transgression that you made, that's your simple discipline, like anything else. So once you go through your bondage and discipline, you have your DS, that's your dominant and submissive. So we know what those they are. That's your basic power exchange. The one is the dominant, which is the one that is in control, and then you have your submissive. That will be, of course, the one
Yielding.
that is. I'm sorry.
The one that's yielding the control.
Right, the one that's shielding the control. They do take a lot of discussion. This is again where we'll talk about vetting and things like that in our next podcast. It's not something that you jump into just coming into BDSM. It's something that, it takes time to build. It takes time to develop these dynamics. So we'll definitely talk about those in later podcasts. But definitely, it's something that takes a lot of work. This lifestyle period to me takes a lot of work because you're always learning, you're always
expanding
building
horizons.
and
You're always expanding your horizons and having to broaden everything that you know that you're used to. And
right,
it's a lot. It can be dangerous.
right. So you're always learning something in this lifestyle. It's definitely something that takes time. I always tell people that's not for don't go into this looking, oh, I want a dom right now, or where's my sub? No, there's a lot of education and a lot of learning of yourself that needs to go into this before you even start looking at dynamics. So that's something we'll talk about a little way down the line.
And if you don't feel like you can learn, or you feel like there's nothing that you can learn, this is not the lifestyle for you.
That's the thing. I tell people I'm 28 years in and I still learn something almost every day. It's not a day that goes by when I start digging and looking into stuff related to the community that I don't learn something. And that's the honest truth. Even things that I've known for years and I've started back, just started from the beginning when I was like, I want to do the podcast. I want to, talk about the basics, the foundation of what this is. And even going back and doing that, which is something I learned from the beginning. And I still find stuff now in doing that I'm like, I didn't know that. Because there's so much here. There's so much in the evolution of who we are in this. You learn, you change. So something that you might not have, and I think that's where a lot of this is coming to fruition with me. There's a lot of things now that I'm older. I'm more open to a lot of things. So I'm evolving. I'm kind of changing. So when we talk about stuff, and you'll hear me say, "Well, you know what? Before I was always like, nah, not my kick. I don't want to do that." Now I'm kind of open to it. It's because it's something that you'll learn that you do in this. You're going to evolve. You might lose a role, you might gain a role, and we'll talk about that.
Not even just
to be willing to learn, willing to educate yourself and re-educate yourself. Keep re-educating yourself in this because that's the only way you can grow and evolve. Be open.
see, not even just us though. The lifestyle itself, even though the basis, like the foundation of it, usually always remains the same. It's an ever evolving lifestyle as the generations grow. So eventually, you're still gonna learn something new.
If something is stagnant, it's not growing. So you're always going to want to be evolving. Again, it's just like building a house. You have a foundation. I can build anything from a foundation. I can take a foundation, I can build an office building. I could take that foundation, I can build an apartment. I can take that same foundation and I can build a restaurant. It just depends on what I want to build. So the basis of that, and that's what I try to tell people to keep in mind and remember. The basis of it is you have to have that solid foundation to make this work. And then what you do with that foundation, that's your business. Not everybody wants a dynamic. Not everybody wants, that responsibility. Not everybody is just here to say, okay, well, I'm going to be a top, that's it. Or I'm going to be a bottom, that's it. You take that foundation and you build whatever you want to build out of it. But just make sure that you're aware of the basics, you're aware of the safety, you're aware of the risk, and that's basically what your foundations are. Knowing your risk, knowing who you are, what roles you play, where you're comfortable, knowing how to navigate this lifestyle safely. Because my favorite line in this is this lifestyle is very volatile. What we do is volatile. So we are dealing with human beings, not as in parts, but in a whole. So we have to know how to navigate this. We have to know how to be mindful and responsible for not only ourselves, but each other. That's what we're here to teach. And I keep saying the foundation, you will always hear me say the foundation of what this is, because nothing can stand without a foundation. So we're looking to make sure we are the best that we can be, that we are able to leave a unique footprint, because there's so much stuff that we as a community have to offer the community as a whole, but the education isn't there. Nobody's willing to educate. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to
Pull
be the
together.
one to say, okay, guess what? I see this is going left. Let's get this back on track. Because that's where we have to be. So we're not getting the bad names to the community. So the acronym on the end of the BDSM is the sadist and the masochist, which is
My favorite.
hey, mine too. It is the receiving of pleasure from inflicting pain. I was actually told by a sadist, and it was a funny thing to me. And I finally, when I thought about what was being said, because I had a couple conversations. I tried to have like conversations with different people, because I don't want it to be just my views. The views of the people in Twisted. I like a collective,
A
a
wide
collective of
variety
points
of
of view.
knowledge.
Yeah, so I mean, you get everybody's points of view, and I had a sadist tell me, um, a couple weeks ago, when I was just simply asking him, like, so tell me, in your words, your status, what is it? What is it to you? And he's like, I'll tell you what society says it is, or the community may say it is, but I'll tell you then what it really is for me. And like he said, it's the common definition. It's someone who receives sexual gratification from inflicting pain. Your masochist is someone who receives sexual gratification from receiving pain. And he said, for me, and think about yourself, it's not sexual gratification necessarily. If I'm with my submissive, then yes, I do get that sexual gratification. And even with her, it's not about that all the time. Sometimes it's just a release for me. And I can I can see that, because a lot of times it's not a sexual thing for me either. It's really like kind of like it's just that need to have the stress kind of just worked out of you, beat out of you. Not in a bad way, but it's like a stress relief for me. And all of it's not impact. There's different ways that you get that pleasure of pain. So to me, I can understand what he was saying, where that textbook definition really doesn't apply for everybody, because it doesn't for me either. So I definitely get it.
That's the thing about the lifestyle itself is people ultimately try to link it to sexual activity, but it's not. BDSM is not inherently sexual.
It's a sensual lifestyle. It's an erotic lifestyle because of what we do, because you're heightening senses. You're doing a lot of things that
That do feel
arouse your senses, but it's like I was told by another dominant. For lack of better words, long story short, the conversation was about a lot of negative things being said about dominance by submissives and vice versa, for reasons on the tail end when you find out about it. It's just basically because it didn't flow the way that person wanted it to flow. That being because guess what? They weren't in a dynamic with this person.
like you said.
A lot of
They
people
call
are going in and they're thinking, oh, this is sex. I'm going to have this scene. I'm going to get all hot and bothered and we're going to have sex. the majority of the time, if it's a top and bottom scene, that does not happen because BDSM is not about sex. They'll see, and like he said, they will see two people in the dynamic, and they might not realize that those people are in a dynamic, but they'll see a scene between two people that are in a dynamic. You'll see that energy. You'll feel that energy that comes from them because they have a bond. They have a connection. So they'll see that, and it's like, okay, I want that. But they don't understand when it comes to that same person doing a scene with you, you're not going to get that because you're not in a dynamic with them. You're not connected to that person in the same way. Now, unless y'all negotiate sexual activity after that and everybody's grown, do what you do, that's your business. But honestly, in this lifestyle and what I've been taught from the beginning, and when you even encounter dungeons, if BDSM was centered around sexual activities and things like that, one of your first dungeon rules would not be that there's no sex in the dungeon. And it's not because, we don't want to get our equipment messed up. No, it wasn't ever the basis of what this is. And you have your dynamics, of course, that's a part of, because even though you're in a dynamic, you still have a relationship. So people's relationships, of course, include sex. Again, we're all adults. You do what you want to do. But I think a lot of sometimes the negative things that are said about very good doms at times or very good submissives at times is because people go into this thinking they're going to get a dynamic scene when you're only getting a top and bottom scene.
They're catching the tailwinds. They want the results without the actual building blocks that took to get there.
Yeah, and that's what they see. Nobody wants to do the work. And I've been like, well, if he don't want to, a dominant is not required to do a scene with you if they're not comfortable doing it.
And that's
a submissive is not required to do a scene with you if they're not comfortable doing it. Nobody has to do anything. This is an equal opportunity place over here. It's at will. Look, when they say at will employment, this is at will work over here. If they want to, they'll negotiate a scene with you. If they don't, then guess what? Maybe that's just not. Maybe they're tired. I mean, there's plenty of reasons why. Maybe that connection, that energy isn't there because even though there is energy that is between the top and the bottom in scenes, they have to have some kind of connection to make that scene what it is. And I've seen some very, very good scenes between top. But again, you can't go in expecting
them to do everything.
Right. What you see them doing in a dynamic versus what they're doing with you. And I mean, you can't rightfully, badmouth the dom because they didn't give you that.
You can't demanding it either. That's where consent falls in, because consent is just as important for doms as it is for submissives. They don't have to, they don't have to scene with you. They don't have to do anything against their own consent.
So it really is important that people understand that and watch. I'm really adamant about watching that false narrative that kind of goes around sometimes because they didn't get what they expected. They didn't get sex, or they didn't get the whole all cuddled up and this and that and third. The responsibility, and I was going to talk about this later, but we're already here. So, responsibility in a dynamic is totally different than top and bottom. Your dom in a dynamic, your submissive in a dynamic, they both have responsibilities to each other. And their responsibilities carry on. It doesn't stop, after that scene. It doesn't stop after your aftercare. It doesn't stop after we know that each other is okay. Their responsibilities are there as long as that dynamic is in place. When you have a top and bottom, they see what you negotiate. That's your responsibility. Your responsibility doesn't go any further than that. You have your scene. That dominant is, if he or she is a good dominant, they're going to make sure that you're okay. They're going to make sure, everything went well. They're going to check on you maybe a day or so later if they have access to you. And then once you're okay, that's it. That's all the responsibility that they have to you.
If you didn't negotiate aftercare, then you can't rightfully expect them to dive in and, you know, you're some random person and they take care of you. That's not how that works.
Right. And again, it goes back to a lot of people having those negative conversations because this didn't happen, that didn't happen. So that's why I really stress us going over the roles as well. I stress learning the roles, learning the responsibilities on both sides. So you know what your responsibility is in whatever role you're in, but you also know the responsibility of whoever you are dealing with, whether it be just, top and bottom, pick up play, or in the dynamic. So you can't expect anything more than what that person's role is to be to you.
To have.
So we have to make sure that in all fairness, we respect each other in our roles and in our responsibilities. So I guess we could kind of talk about the roles real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I always say that the lifestyle is the umbrella. So you have everything that falls up under this umbrella, your swingers, your BDSM, all this. To me, when you get to BDSM, I think your roles are kind of like an umbrella that fall up under BDSM. So you've got your dominant, your submissive, your switch, your top, and your bottoms. You do have some people that consider themselves switches too. You got your dominant, your submissive, your top and bottoms, and you have some people that consider themselves switch. For the longest time, I did not see switch. I saw it, but I don't know how to explain it. I saw it, but it was like, I really think you're one or the other,
Uh-huh.
But the older I've become, and here we go, when you start evolving and learning things, I think within the last 2 years, I really started like looking at a lot of stuff kind of different. When I was granted the opportunity to learn fire play from Sir Shere Khan, I actually started understanding that there are some things that I do like happening. So, I love fire. I love fire play. I love being able to give someone that sensation, that erotic sensation for fire. When I first had it done, it was like, oh my God, I love this. It's amazing. I mean, it's the craziest high in the world to me. And then to be able to allow somebody to have that same
Experience.
pleasure, yeah, from fire at my hands, I love it.
I feel like for some people, it depends on the person you're with because some people say they're not switches, but they can top a person.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Depending on who they're.
Just like you asked me before. I think it's when we did this before you were asking. Does it depend on the person? Because now I can honestly say I think there are some things like vlogging. Knife play has caught my eye. I love watching. I like the reaction.
Just thrill.
I guess I kind of like hearing the reactions too. I don't know, but it's something about knife play. I love knife play. And I'm starting to understand that there are certain things that I like to top at because I like being able to give that sensual pleasure
Because I've seen
in a different way. I like
a
to,
little dominance on some levels, and I'm like, so I feel like it depends on who you're with and the level of trust you have in that person.
yeah, I think I don't know whether it depends on who I'm with that brings it out, or what. I don't know because here in the back of my little sadistic mind, there,
Uh-huh.
there's some, yeah, I like there's some implements that I really like to inflict some pain with, and I'm a masochist at heart. I am a Sam all day long, to the core. But there are some things that I love floggers. I really I love weighted floggers, but I think I like using them as much as I like having them used on me. So do I consider myself a switch? I don't. I think it's like we say in we were saying a couple weeks ago. I think it really depends on what works for you at the moment and it fulfills what you need at that moment. So does that make a person switch? I don't know.
I feel like it's like we talked about before. It's everybody has traits of some type of dynamics that they don't claim, that they don't fully fit, but they have traits. They have traits of little roles that they don't fit into.
I think when you start learning about the roles, and when we go through them really quick, I think everybody can identify with some part of a role. But I think when you choose your roles, I think it's more so it's chosen by what consistently fulfills you. Because, like I said, I see myself being a dominant. Now, I can see myself topping, but after a while, I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I'm done with that. Let me go back to my little submissive self. Where's my dragon tails? Where's something? Because I'm done doing that. So I think when it comes to choosing your roles, I really believe that in choosing them, it's what is kind of a constant for you. And I think the other things, like when you have, like we were saying, I think you'll find a little bit of, you identify with a lot of things. You'll find little bits and pieces, but those ones I think are really just what might be something that fulfills you for that moment. So I think that's where that kind of comes in. So we went over a switch, and then you've got your archetypes or your arch roles, whatever you want to call them. There's a bunch of different types. We could possibly never sit here within an hour, 2 hours, and give you every single one of them. We'll touch on this, like the common names for them. That'll be pretty simple and just kind of get that out of the way. Want to do dominance real quick?
Do you? Because I am the subbiest of subs.
Yeah, well, that's true. But, to give a whole view of what this is, we gotta talk about the doms too. So when you talk about dominance, you come up with your daddy doms, your masters. What else? You got your riggers, your sadists. You have your dominant mentors, things like that. Your masters. Now, this is one area, masters and slaves. I think, who did I think it was Cersei that I had asked maybe last year 50 million questions about slave because this is something I don't know about. This again comes with evolving. Like I have you here because I don't know a lot about littles, but I think in respect for everybody in this community, because I've always had this mindset, I'm not a slave. I will not be a slave because I don't want somebody dictating my life 24/7. That's not doable for me just because of my lifestyle and everything else. It's not possible. I would not do that because I'm not getting in trouble for doing something. So I have this tunnel vision of what being a slave is. And
on our part, that might not be fair for us, but we don't particularly know, what all goes into being a slave because we're not slaves. So we're not discounting anyone. We're just giving you what we know so far.
Right. And I mean, I've had a pretty in-depth conversation. And I've been told, it's not what you think it is. And I've been given some very good examples, but honestly, I'm just still not clear on what's the difference in being a slave and a submissive is. I know there are some differences, but I think it was Saoirse who told me, it's not really a lot of difference in it. Again, I have tunnel vision on what it is because I can speak for everybody else. when I say about everybody else, I can be on the outside looking in. So I can understand how people can get the wrong idea about BDSM because I'm looking on the outside, from the outside in, on slave and what it is. And all I have is what I've been told and what I think it is, and it's you can't do anything, and all these negative connotations, and I'm like, it can't be that bad because a lot of people are comfortable in that role, so it can't be that bad. I think it might be a level of dedication, maybe, and has a lot to do with that. So, master and slave, I can't really dig into deep. I'm going to circle back around to that maybe in another podcast because I don't want to misrepresent anyone. And again, I think a lot of the purpose of bringing these things to the forefront and learning the roles is So to be able to have an open mind and be non-judgmental in what we do, because this is what we're supposed to be, non-judgmental. So I always feel it's good to understand the different roles. It might not be a role that you're comfortable in, but at least you understand it and you can respect others in that role. So definitely that's something we'll circle back around to. But just from everyday knowledge of what I've read, your masters, they want 100% control. They can control everything from like what that slave wears, their daily tasks. They have specific things set in line. It might be how they have the house prepared when that dominant comes home. It may be acting certain ways in public in the community. There's a lot that goes with that. So we'll definitely have that conversation again when we come back around to it. We've got your sadists. Your sadists. We talk about them. I love sadists. They, of course, like we said earlier, they get that pleasure from inflicting pain, whether it's a sexual pleasure or whether it's the release or whatever it is for them. That's what they do. Your sadists use a lot of implements. They use a lot of different ways to inflict pain. Some of them go through, and they don't even have to touch you. I had a sadist tell me, I think it's the same one that was telling me about it's not a sexual thing for him. He was saying that it's as simple as using humiliation and degradation.
I love.
And now, you know what? In regards to humiliation and degradation, I'm okay in a scene. Don't do it to me in public. I'm not that public. And granted, not taken away from anybody else. There are people that are okay with it in public. I'm just not okay with it in public.
I'm about the same. I think that's a little part of me that'll be like, if you do that to me in public, the baby part of me is gonna be like, you hurt my feelings.
See, and me, it's just gonna be like, what? What did you just? No, we don't do this. No. Now, if anything in the masochist of me is sexual, to me, that part is sexual. That kind of turns me on.
Same.
That sense of a scene. The humility. Yeah. But that's it. Outside of that, nah, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Brings the brat me to the forefront, really. That just brings the brat me to the forefront, really. I just kind of want to egg them on to make it worse.
Lord. Yeah, we'll get to the brats in a minute. But yeah, so you got your sadists. They are, a lot of people are scared to say this stuff. And I honestly feel that if you get to know, and a good sadist is going to be very verbal with you. They're going to be very informative with you. They're just not going to, a lot of people think, oh, they're just going to beat me, or they're going to give me pain. I don't care how much of a sadist that person is. They know how to gauge themselves.
There's a lot that goes into being a sadist because, there's the whole, like I said, the whole medical side of it, because you can't ultimately be a sadist without trying to not inflict permanent damage on someone.
But a lot of people think because it's a sadist, they're just going to go all out and full out, just
beat the brakes off you.
Everything. And it's not like that. They do know how to gauge themselves. I deal with the sadist. So I know that he knows my limits, and I know that he knows I'm okay with him pushing those limits, and I'm okay knowing that he might push, but he's only going to push so far. But that's because, again, we deal with each other. So we have that connection, we have that communication versus, if you're just going into a top-bottom situation, you negotiate a scene, that status isn't, whether it's male or female, they're not going to just all out just be horrible, so.
That you negotiate very thoroughly before your scene.
Yeah, so definitely, even if you do negotiate certain things, still, the human part of that person isn't just going to let them just be all out ruthless, I totally believe that, unless, again, it's your dynamic or, you constantly deal with this person with sessions or something, and there's that connection there, there's that understanding, those conversations have been had, you have a high pain tolerance, or you're just a heavy bottom or something like that, then absolutely, if that's what you guys negotiate, go for it. But a lot of people that scary that free thing is there. Oh, I don't want to deal with them because they might hurt me. No, a very good and well educated sadist is not going to hurt you. They're not going to be full fledged. Just you have what next? Your handlers. Your big, your daddy dom. I guess they kind of, to me, they kind of all run in one. Handlers are more so for pets to me. So like your bigs, your daddy doms, things like that. They are your more so the kind of
Nurturing.
yeah, your nurturing dominance. They deal with like littles and your baby girls, your princesses, things like that. Very nurturing, very what's the word I'm looking for?
They're a lot, I wouldn't say softer, but
I think in some ways they may be softer.
because there are some very like authoritarian, like tough kind of daddies and mommies, and those that end of the spectrum. So I guess if it's
From experience, I think that just comes with sometimes when it's needed. I think again, it's the part of gauging that
what
submissive, gauging what's needed at the time. I think, and to me, that comes with any role that any type of topping or dominant role that you take. You learn that individual, especially if you're like doing a dynamic or anything like that. You're learning that person. So I think the authoritative part when it comes to like the mommies and the daddies and things like that, I think it comes with when it's needed. When that brat comes out, or I've heard them say when they need that S type to snap back. Kind of got to get them back to where they need to be. So I think, yeah, it kind of really depends on what's needed at the time. What else can we say about daddy doms? Oh, let me see. Daddy and mommy doms. I can't leave out the mommies. They're very like she was saying, they're very caring. They're soft. Not soft like pushover soft. They nurture.
yeah, let us
They
clarify that, because being a daddy or a mommy is not for the faint of heart at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk about that when we talk about littles in a second because yeah, responsibility the responsibility of a dominant, a lot of people just don't, especially S types. I think we kind of disregard the responsibility side of all of this when it comes down. We're gonna talk about that. I mean, we'll talk about it because yeah, that I am an advocate for caring
Well,
for that D type. I am an advocate because there is this air in the community that subs need to be taken care of. Subs are so delicate and da da da. No, that's true. A submissive needs to be taken care of, but that dominant, that top, they need to. People don't understand. They drop like subs drop.
they
They go into
experience
dollar space like we go into subspace. They have those moments afterwards where they are just heavy. They need aftercare. There's not much different in caring that they need than we need, and I think a lot of times we don't think as submissives, and as types we don't think about that, but that goes into a type of role of the service submissive that I'll talk about in a second. But I think sometimes we kind of miss that part as submissives. We think they're supposed to be the strong one. They're supposed to be all the responsibility is on them to make sure everything is good. But who makes sure they're good? That's what we're here for. Let me see your dominant mentor. I think everybody needs a mentor, whether you're a dominant or a submissive. That's really important because you have to start somewhere. And you need to get the information, you need to get the learning, you need to get that. What's my word? So your dominant mentors are people that take on the responsibility of educating and training. I believe that there should be submissive mentors as well. Everybody's got to get that leg in. They got to get that start. So there are dominants that are mentors. They, will take on a dominant. And I honestly am an advocate for a dominant mentoring a dominant and a submissive mentoring a submissive because what happens if I am a submissive and I am trying to go beyond. I mean, I can tell a dominant the foundations all the time. I can explain what this lifestyle is. I can explain the different roles and all of that. I can explain the four pillars of what they mean. I can explain the risk awareness. I can explain in depth the medical awareness on this side. Um, but when it comes to being a dominant, I don't feel that a submissive really has a place in that education, because what's going to happen is I'm going to kind of lean into
What I
pushing
like.
you to be right, pushing you to be the submissive, the dominant that I like, so you don't get that full spectrum of what a dominant is,
It
or
really blur lines, honestly.
right, right. So, and same thing as being a dominant, training a submissive. I don't see that, because that dominant is going to train that submissive after what he wants in his dynamic.
And not
It's
every
not going to be full
want
circle.
thing.
Exactly. It may be the trend of dynamic. That dynamic doesn't work out. You could have been in that dynamic for 15, 20 years, and something happens, that dynamic ends, and you eventually go into another dynamic. Been there, done that. You have to totally go back to the beginning, because what that initial dominant liked, or what that initial dominant, preferred, the preferences, requirements may not be the same thing as this next dominant that you encounter. So again, that comes with evolving, always being open to educating and re-educating, because yeah, it happens. Granted, I've seen it happen where that dominant has been like a protector, or just lending out or giving out information that's been basic information, nothing specific.
Like a
Now,
non-biased source.
right. Now, I digress when it comes to that, because honestly, the more I think about it, I do know dominance, because there's not a lot of submissives known where they are, or capable, if you want to say, of doing, of training or taking on a submissive to train. There are dominants that I do know that are very black and white with it.
They're reliable and blunt with it. They're not going to steer you in one direction or the other on what they want. It's this is what you need to know, not what I prefer kind of dominant.
They don't go into specifics.
Yeah.
They don't go into preferences as a dominant. They keep everything ABC, this is what it is. So they do exist. I will literally eat my words on that one. So those are your dominant mentors. You got your riggers. I love riggers. I love rope. I met one of the greatest riggers a couple weekends ago at the Exposed event in South Carolina, and I was so amazed. I love Shibari and Kamaku. I really do. I love the knots. I love the intricacy of the work, and it's amazing. So I'm sitting here because of the rigger that we met. It's Laka Shibari. They're out of Michigan, and his amazing wife, Lady Dawn. And when I got done, she was like, because I got the pink and green, my sorority colors. I got my rope. And so she was like, there's this great rigger. She was telling me about this lady that's on YouTube that teaches self-tying. And so I think when you want to start learning how to self-tie, it's gorgeous. To me, riggering is an art. It is. There's a sensualness in the knots to me. This is my first time being suspended, and everybody knows
We
I
all
don't.
were not expecting.
Yeah, nobody was suspecting that one, and nobody was suspecting anything on my face, because y'all know I am super deathly claustrophobic. I am. Will not put my head under the bed. Will not sit in the back of a car. I hate elevators. Claustrophobic. That's why you will not see me in the cute little. Look. I see people in the hoods and everything. I'm like, oh, they're so cute. I see people in the mask. I want some of them, and then I get one, and I have it on for like half a second. Nope, not doing it. Because I can't. I was so freaking claustrophobic. It's funny, but um, he was so good. When we were talking, I had one thing envisioned, because I wanted to do the suspension for the cover photo of Twisted, and I was like, there was a look I wanted, and it was with this like long flowy dress, and da da da. So I get up there, and he was like, "So you gonna let me turn you upside down?" And I was like, huh? He was like, nobody let me turn them upside and invert them. He was like, dang. And I was like, okay, let's go for it. He was like, really? He was like, what's the one thing that nobody would expect you to do? And I was like, probably that. Be suspended. And I said, and anything on my face. He was like, so can I tie your face? And I was like, and the amazing thing is I was able to look and watch. He did, I think it was 5 people before me. Might have been four or five before me. And, we had the other stuff going on, but I sat there and I watched what he was doing. And everybody he gave, direct attention to. He had the negotiation conversations, the risk awareness, conversations. And before he did anything with each person, he took his time. He tied, he checked his not. I mean, I was so impressed at the amount of time and detail that he took. And so when he was like, and he was joking when he said it, can I invert you? I was like, at first, my little mom was like, "No, we're not doing that because
You
I'm not getting up in
excuse
your
me?
father." But then, when I thought about it, when he was looking, I was like, "You know what? Let's do it." And then he was like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." And I will tell you, it was the most amazing experience. Again, my claustrophobia was all over the place, but the unique thing is, he talks to you the whole time. He's reassuring you. He's getting your mind off of it. And I'm sitting there like my whole face is tied up, and I'm like, I can't see out my eyes. My nose is covered up. Wait a minute. But he's talking to me. He was like, I'm right here. If at any time it doesn't feel comfortable, let me know. I can take it off.
And
When
props
he
to
went
you
to,
for pushing those boundaries.
you know, for some reason, at that time, I felt that was something I wanted to do. I wanted to push it. Sometimes you know how you feel like you need to get over things. You need to release it. Now, am I cured of my claustrophobia? Heck no.
No.
But at that moment, it was doable for for me because he made me comfortable. And that's what a good dominant. I would tell you that's what a good any kind of D type. When you're in situations where you're a little nervous, a good D type knows how to calm. A good D type knows how to uh,
That
reassure
reassure.
you. And when, yes, reassure you. And that's needed a lot of times. I think one of the most impressive things to me with him was for me from the medical side. I love the fact that he was fine. He started at my waist and but then he got up to my top so he could do the chest harness. And he was like, wait a minute. He said, do you mind if I do a nerve map? And me being the MP, I'm like, okay, did he just say a nerve map? Okay. And I was sitting there laughing. I'm like, sure. Then he was like, I'm just making sure. He said, because I noticed that you have like really muscular legs. He's like, and that means you got muscle definition. And I'm looking at your arm, so I just want a map to make sure that I'm not going to tie anywhere that's going to damage any of your nerves. So sure enough, when he did his mapping, where it was tickling me, that's exactly where he had the timing. And he was like, "Well, I'm glad I did that. I kind of figured that when I looked at you, and I can appreciate that because guess what? That lets me know you are very knowledgeable in what you do. You're very concerned about what you're doing.
And that added that the level of reassurance.
Exactly. You can't have somebody just out here tying some rope around you because they seen it and they think it's cute. And I've been the Boy Scout. I can tie a knot.
And
No, it's not like that.
that'll
Exactly. It will get you hurt. And I stress all the time, this is a volatile lifestyle. What we do can hurt you physically. It can hurt you mentally. And these are things that we try to avoid with education. You know, a lot of people will see 50 Shades or something else and they're just going to go run. Nobody's educating. And then when you don't have the education and you have people using dragon tails, which I love, and things like that on people and they don't know what they're doing. Oh, a person hits you wrong with a flogger, they mess your kidneys up or something because they're not trained at what they're doing. So that's why we say ask the questions. That's why I don't care. They can get mad all they want to. If you ever sing with somebody and they get mad because you ask the hard questions, okay, you might want to walk away. And that shouldn't even be a hard question. Okay, so how long have you been doing this? Who mentored you? Who taught you how to do this? Well, you need to know. And that's why I said learn both sides of the roles. Know what responsibility that top is supposed to have, along with your own responsibility. They got to be responsible for knowing what they're doing. They got to be responsible for their education on what it is they're doing.
That's
We ain't
that
out here being
awareness
test
right
dummies for
there.
nobody. And that's my biggest thing. I'm not nobody's test dummy. If you don't know what you're doing, so when you
Keep it to
come
yourself.
back when you know.
That's that risk awareness we were talking about right there.
Right, absolutely. We will definitely go over right. You have to know what you're walking into, and you have to be able to take responsibility for yourself, just like that top and that dominant takes responsibility for you. Of course, we'll drill that in more and more and more as we talk, but you're gonna keep hearing it. It's gonna keep being said. We're just trying to make it a little bit easier. We're trying to make that journey fun. We're trying to make that journey for you something that you're comfortable. You doing your shadow work, your you work. It might not be all that fun, but I guarantee you to get you to a good place where you're okay. We dig deep. We dig into the hard stuff. So yeah, that's what we're here for. So yeah, that's your riggers. They
They are artists.
love rope. Yeah, basically artists. And there's different other type of dominance, but we'll jump to submissives real quick. So we'll jump to submissives. See what time it is. Yeah. So submissives real quick. Let's talk about your service subs. I think that everybody as a submissive should have a little bit of a service sub in it. Yes. No.
I totally agree because there's the whole like we were talking about with aftercare towards your doms and stuff. You just want to serving is kind of part of what being a sub is all about.
Right. And I really believe that even if you don't have a dominant, you still need to know acts of service. Because even in situations we might not be in dynamics, but we might have people that we demo for, or we might have people that we pick up play in scenes with, and they need, certain things. You might come across a dominant at an event, and that dominant may be by himself, and he's doing scenes and he's presenting. He might need someone, or he might need, someone to do things for him. So, I always say at now, granted, and if you are in a dynamic, please ask your dominant first before you just go services another dominant.
That's offensive. That's kind of offensive.
So that can get kind of ugly. But I was referring to those that don't have dominant.
I've seen submissives snap out on other submissives because they turned around and these submissives had their own dominance, but they decided to come serve another submissive dominant that went ugly so fast.
Oh, well, I mean, that can, because
I'm like, we're all.
My question is, though, why wasn't that one serving her dominant?
In this,
why does she have space? Why was there a space for that one to come and serve her dominant?
In this case, it was an inexperienced sub that felt like she should be serving everybody.
Well,
I was like,
And this submissive had a dominant?
That's the thing. She had her own dominant.
So then, to me, now, a caveat, I will say, ladies and gentlemen, I don't care. Your submissive is as a dominant, your submissive is a reflection of you. Your submissive is a reflection of how you educate that submissive, how you teach that submissive about your dynamic. Now, I cannot speak on that dynamic because it's not my dynamic, but in my POV, I would assume that if that wasn't proper for that dynamic, that dominant should have, been specific, you serve me. Or if that other, because, okay, this is how it's been in my experience in with me in dynamics. I've been in event spaces where, yes, I serve my dominant. Yeah. And then there's been, because, dominant's a friend. So he's had friends that were there, and in the initial, highs and greetings and everything else, I mean, it's clearly stated, if there's anything that you need, feel free to ask Julia. Feel free to ask Chrissy. It's fine. And she has my permission to help out where needed. And that's said in front of me. It's said in front of them and in front of their submissives, so they know.
Clear.
But I mean, it's kind of like a formality. I think there's rules and ways that you do things. And to me, I think sometimes things get messy because people don't just do the common courtesy of communication. So I can see that if that dominant maybe was not specific in saying, first get my permission or have that conversation with the sub, because, sub to sub, we can talk about it.
Exactly.
Is there something that you need me to help you do for him? I have my dominant's permission. Do we need the extra dominant? I'm here if you guys need anything else. I mean, there's just formality, and it's not really formality. It's what you call respect. Simple respect. Because it's just like any other relationship. A woman in a relationship wouldn't want some other woman come in and all over top of her guy doing for her guy when she's right there. You know, so it's really a matter of respect. We don't lose respect because, we have roles. No. So definitely it's respect. And if you don't have a dominant, then I don't think that there's any harm in asking, is there any service that's needed? If that dominant does have a submissive there or someone there helping him as a submissive, I would go to that submissive and ask, is there anything that I can help you with? And in turn, I would hope that she would go to her dominant and ask that it's okay if she wants help from me or whatnot. But again, it depends on how that dynamic is ran, what the expectations are, what the rules are. I mean, again, nothing's cookie cutter. So everything that I just said can be null and void to somebody else's dynamic. But that was the way my dynamics were. So I can only talk from my experience, but I think common respect goes a long way, especially in this lifestyle. It really does. So yeah, service, there's nothing wrong with service. Service to me comes back to knowing your dominant, knowing what he needs, and the situation of seating, knowing is that dominant, is that top hydrated? Is there anything that they need after the scene? Things like that. So service is honestly a good thing. It's not being a slave, gotta run it. No, serving. And the funny thing is, a lot of people don't understand dominants serve us submissives all the time. So I really think when I say every submissive should have a bit of service sub in them, because literally, we're serviced all the time by dominants. So if you want to say, for lack of better words, it's only fair, yeah, we should be open and wanting to serve, not only always just looking to get littles. Go ahead. You just go ahead, because I am not saying anything about littles except for I tried to have this conversation with someone else, and I think I told you this. The one fascinating thing I did find out from talking to a little was like two fascinating things. The one was littles and middles are able to specify a specific age. I did not know that. Some people think they're all over the board. One day they're 2, one day they're 5. No, I was told that you have a specific recurring age. I don't think I really understood that with you, because I've been around you for years. So I think I might have known it, but I just didn't know. And does that make sense? I knew it, but I didn't know. But I think the other fascinating thing, when I was asking her, the regression part, is there things that trigger it? And what she was telling me is that, because I remember, we talked about this, but she'd been in a dynamic for, I think, about 11, 12 years. I love their dynamic. It's beautiful. And I do have permission to talk about it. I'm not going to call names. So if anybody knows this story,
Just know it's been obtained with permission.
exactly, I have permission. So she's in a beautiful, loving dynamic now, have been for years. And this comes with what we were talking about, evolving. So when she was explaining being a little to me, she was saying, when I was asking about the regression part, what makes you go to that spot? And she was like, sometimes it's basically like subspace. I understand subspace all day long because I love subspace. But she said the thing about it is she always wondered why she went back to, I believe she said like 2 or 3. I can't remember. I think she said 3. I think somewhere around there. So she said she always would go back to that age. And she was like, the only thing she could remember, it was, she like 3, but
Yeah.
that's always where she regressed to. And so she finally went to therapy and was like, because she didn't understand about little things. Because this is someone that came in and was not educated about educated about the lifestyle till later. It was something they stumbled upon, and it's like, hey, let's try this, and they built into a magnificent dynamic. But she did not understand the whole age regression thing. She thought it was age play, and I think you explained the whole age play. I'm gonna let you do all that, but she said that she did not understand why she kept going to this certain age, and so she said it would always just be so hurtful for her to be
At
when
a
she
time
would regret
most traumatic.
this age. And so she said, come to find out, after the amount of years, she understood that was a time in her life that she wanted to be cared for, that she didn't feel safe, that she wanted that nurturing, and she wanted that mommy, that daddy, but it wasn't there. And so she said through her dynamic now, they're actually married. She said her husband started going to therapy with her after she had this breakthrough. And that through talking with him and him understanding through therapy what was going on, he started nurturing. It wasn't like he didn't before. She wasn't susceptible to him nurturing her when she would regress, and she never understood why. And she didn't know how to accept it. She said she would have tantrums, all kinds of stuff, but she never really understood why she acted out that way. And then come to find out that's what it was. So through her husband learning those things with her, he began to nurture her. She began to be more susceptible to it. After about a year, believe it or not, she said just one day something happened and she had a session of regression. But guess what? She said she wasn't 2 or 3. She was like older, like 8, 9, somewhere around there.
He was hitting that middle age.
Yeah, she said she was able to recognize it. And that was the time when she was happy, and back then, she was happy. She was at a good home. Things were good. And she said she was able to age up, I guess. And she said her and her husband, they had that conversation. She's not a little now. She's a middle. I don't know a lot about littles, so I'm going to just give that to you and let you talk about it because that's what you are.
Well,
And who better to talk about it than someone who experiences it?
I do have a recurring age. I do. Most of the time, I do regress to around the age of 2. As people know, terrible 2s. I have
Believe that.
terrible
Nothing.
2s. I can be a very bratty little. I will admit that tantrums and stuff can happen.
Okay.
But that's just what happens with 2-year-olds.
Right.
I think what it comes down ultimately to is the fact that it's age regression versus age play. And that's where people use.
Yeah.
Because,
So age play is more like role play.
yes, age regression is not voluntary. Age
Right.
is voluntary.
So, I'm sorry. Did you say there's something that triggers or no?
Yes. For me, it's overwhelming stress. I'll be in a crowd full of people and I feel enclosed. It's just overwhelming overstimulation.
So like me, I get tired of adulting.
There are some days that I have, however, woken up and I'll feel extremely small for the moment I wake up. But that will be because of lingering stress from the day before.
Oh, okay.
So I'll wake up in the smallest, in my 2-year-old headspace, and I'll be the whiniest thing ever. I just want to be held. I want to be cuddled, kind of thing.
Yeah, we know why.
I'm not whiny anymore, kind of. But
So have you aged up then?
I will say that I have probably aged to maybe 3. I haven't gotten any further than that. I haven't gotten any further than that. I am still a toddler.
Still a toddler. Okay.
But that is a lot of, in my case, that is a lot of progress in comparison to how I was before.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cause and again, I think too, this is where the conversation comes in. What we were talking about a little bit earlier, we'll jump in here real quick. A lot of people do not understand the responsibility of dealing with littles and middles and things like that. I'm a daddy dog or I'm a mommy. Let me tell you something. That is the most hellified role.
And she speaks from experience because we do have experience.
I experience. I think that has put the why I will never be a dominant in my peripheral vision. No, never.
In her defense, she was a very good caregiver. It's just a lot.
So yeah, so sometimes we have to take on roles. We have to do what fits for the moment. It might not be that that's what you are, but sometimes things, and I guess that's the experience I speak from. Sometimes there's things that's needed and you have to take on something if it's no more than to, I don't want to say save a person, but make sure that person is okay.
It helped guide me along the right path that I needed.
Yeah, because I am in no ways a mommy. I am in no ways a dominant. I'm not. I will say I am an alpha personality. I'm an alpha submissive, and people say, "Oh, they don't exist," or the alpha submissive, oh, they're just topping from the bottom. We'll have that conversation in a second. But I am not. I tried it. I just became the nurturing caregiver because mommy is a lot of responsibility.
It is.
Mommy is just like having another child. And honey, I was not. No. I was like, I ain't ready for that. I will say, if you go into a dynamic, if you take on a responsibility, then you really have to take on that responsibility. You have to be there when that person needs you. You have to be able to, if no more than respond. If you can't physically be there, be attentive. If they call you, talk to them because you don't know what it is that they need. Listen, you have to be able to be there. You have to be able to provide that protection.
That could.
Right?
We need that consistency. That's what it is.
Yes. And I think that's in any dynamic though, because as a submissive, you're putting a lot on the table. And again, that doesn't mean we're just weak little yes ma'am, no sirs. No, that's not it. But it takes a lot to give away. I can speak for me again because I'm an alpha submissive, but it takes a lot. And if a person is not ready to take on the magnitude of responsibility that's there, then they definitely do not need to be a dominant. They do not need to take in because you're dealing with somebody emotionally, physically, and emotional pain and emotional hurt is just as bad as physical pain. And I will say with littles, from experience, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. I think we have to be realistic and look at our daily lives outside of the community. Because, okay, some of us are 24/7. But there are some that we say, we live this life when we can. I honestly think if you're truly a submissive or you're truly a dom, you're always that person. There's just certain times when it's not activated per se.
It's more prevalent than other times.
Yeah. Because I'm always a submissive, but in my everyday life, I am an alpha person. I'm in control. Okay, so I keep having to go back to me. So, okay, experience. I'm an alpha submissive. You can say this is one archetype of submissive. Here we go. So, sometimes in life, a lot of times in life, people we have careers and things. We have family situations that put us um in demanding positions. It demands control. It demands our attention. It demands our choices. We're making our choices. We're calling out a shot. And a lot of times in our daily lives, we have those roles, even as submissive. So does that negate us being submissive? No. I went from doing life flight where I'm going to the worst of the worst call. I'm that doctor until I drop you off at a hospital and your life is in my hand. I do critical care, going to mental health care and things like that. I own businesses. I have a family. So I had to take on the role as caregiver for my dad before he passed. So there's a lot of things that encompass that alpha personality in my world. But at the same time, I am a total submissive, and people would not believe that unless they knew it, or unless they see me in that environment. They wouldn't know that, and it was like there is no way in the world. And I will honestly say, there's very few people that can dominate me, and I'm just not because
Not because
I
you're
don't know. Am I?
challenging one, it's
Huh?
not because you're challenging anyone, but because it requires that trust. And there's, you know,
For me, it requires trust, but more so, it requires someone that can handle me. Someone that's not intimidated because I am an alpha personality. And the funny thing is, people don't understand alphas, but when somebody can get us to submit, and I mean, it's not hard. Just do what's expected. You know, show me the trust. Show me what it is that, I know you're supposed to do. Show me what it is that you're supposed to be. And I guess that's why a lot of people, they'd be like, God, you're so hard. No, if I'm talking to a dominant, how long you been a dominant? Who mentored you? So what is your vision for your dynamic? Why are you a dominant? Why do you want to submit? I ask the hard questions. And I guess that's just me as a person. A lot of people take that the wrong way and they're like, she is so harsh. She is so mean. No, it's just that I'm okay asking the hard questions. Because guess what? Asking the hard questions is going to open up that table and you will know everything you need to know. You can put yourself out there on the table and you understand whether or not, okay, you know what, this is somebody that knows what they're doing. I can trust them. I could give in a little bit and lean into maybe getting to know this person. That's just me. A lot of people say alpha, you're topping from the bottom. Not topping from the bottom at all, because I will tell you, if I am your submissive and you are my dominant, the world stops outside of when I come into my dynamic. That's it. And that's my safe place. And people like me, a lot of times that's why we're such adamant submissives, because that's the point for us where we don't have to think. We can lay everything down, every stress. And you hate to say it, but that you're able to give him or her every stress, every bit of, you know what? Okay, I don't have to make any choices right now. But the thing is, you're confident enough and you trust that person enough to know that they got your best interest at hand. They're going to take care of you. They know what you need to get you to that point of being okay. They can ground you. You're good. Well, it just takes the right person. Everybody can't do that. Some people feel intimidated because you have a person that's so outspoken. And I guess that's where the stand with me comes in, because I can be a smart ass when I want to be. But that's another type of submissive. But we got to get back to a little bit more on the little, because I think I had another question. But the
okay,
Sam, that's me.
that
I'm a
definitely
smart ass masochist, and it is for the joy of the punishment. Yes, it is. But the crazy thing is, what was we saying the other day? The
that's the
funny
difference
thing
between
is, huh?
that's the difference between a Sam and a brat. Brats aren't always bratting for the punishment.
Yeah, that's true. And I've had people challenge that and say, "Oh, well, Sams aren't real," or Just because you're a Sam doesn't mean you're a masochist.
That's
Excuse me,
in the
it's in the
title.
acronym. Smart ass mess. So, yes, we are being a smart ass for the joy of getting punishment. Crazy thing is, if you have a really good dominant or a top that knows you, they know you're doing it for the punishment. So it's never going to be the punishment that you want, which sucks. And it's probably going to be something that you hate,
Which
which
also
sucks even
sucks.
more. But the point is it a win? No.
It's a try again next time.
You know what? But I will honestly tell you, from the Sam side of it, I don't think, and all of the Sams that I know, like me, it's not a win-win thing for us. It's not a point of winning. It's a point of a lot of time when that smartness comes out and I'm pushing buttons, it's because I need
Punishment.
that punishment. I need it. I'm stressed out. I'm not grounded or something, and I'm pushing buttons because I need it. I
And
really
you
don't
can't
care how you give
particularly,
it to me, but I need it.
that's your way of asking for it without asking for it.
Right. Versus the next one, brats. So a lot of times they say brats just do it for the heck of it.
Heck yeah. I'm quick to tell you, like, I guess I fall somewhere between a Sam and a brat because the brat side of me is like, I do what I want when I want, and what are you going to do about
Yeah, that's some.
it? What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, and we'll make that face of like, what are you going to do about it?
Exactly.
I'm really thinking on the because yeah, you guys have gotten me to admit I'm what 85% brat. I don't
Hmm.
think I'm a brat.
The
I do not think I'm a
denial.
brat. You know what? Sometimes I will admit I will pout a little bit.
Her facial expressions, to everyone that's listening, her facial expressions scream brat, but it's the
No,
denial.
absolutely not. My face screams brats.
Deliver us from her facial expressions because
Oh, you know what? Side note, I just brought a shirt the other day that says, forgive my, what is it? Forgive my face for saying what my mouth won't say or something
see,
like that.
see there.
I love it. But I don't, you know what? I don't think I don't brat though. I don't throw tantrums. I may pout a little bit, but I think a lot of my brat just comes from, I had to do some deep soul searching and research on this thing because y'all telling me I'm a brat. So, okay, I mean, I'm a brat. So I had to do some deep soul searching and get some references.
Not the soul searching.
Soul searching. And y'all got 85% of agreements out of me. So you got to give me that. I was talking to her and she was like, well, a lot of times we do it for the attention. And I was like, no, because I don't like attention. But then I was thinking about, you know what? Sometimes I do, but sometimes it's for the attention. Again, just like being the Sam. It's when I need grounding or when I just need that moment to like,
You need that breathe. You need that moment to breathe.
yeah. I mean, it's just like, I don't do it to like have a tank or like,
And that's why I say
yeah,
I
right.
fall somewhere in between because
Yeah, I don't
sometimes
do
it's
it
for the
for,
attention, sometimes it's for the punishment.
yeah, and I mean, I get the attention thing, but my attention is just, I need that moment. And I tell you what, you know what? Oh my gosh, I'm having a breakthrough moment. So
That's that inner work,
I
y'all.
I think my grounding comes when I really need to ground. The more I think about it, it's when I'm like, when everything is haywire in my head or like everything is like just going different places. I think if you consider what I do bratting, I think it's just because I need to ground. And there's certain ways I ground. I can ground just by putting my hand in my third lap and just I'm there, nothing more, nothing less, just being there in that moment. I'm good. And I think maybe the bratting comes in when because it's not a consistent thing or it's not like always available because I'm always all over the place. So it's
Mhm.
not always obtainable when I need it. So I think sometimes I just let myself go and then it just gets to the point like, okay, all right, I can't stand this and okay, I need to fix this now. So I think that might be where my branding comes from, honestly.
See, I'm a full fledged. like I'm about like you. When I feel overwhelmed, and that's probably where the little in me comes in as well, mixing in with my brat. I'm a full fledged. I'm good for pouting, but
Yeah, you are.
I'm a full fledged. I will stomp my foot, kind of tantrum
No.
kind of girl.
See, I can go do all that. Now yeah, I've seen the whole brat thing with you. Like it is not that serious. But of course, to us it'd be like it's not that serious. But to you, it's like major. And I'm like, why is she doing all that? It
She's
is
seen me
not
at my
that
worst, y'all.
serious.
She's seen me at
Huh?
worst.
I have. And I must say, you have matured so much. But I do think that if you have a mad brat, there's something wrong. Because you will go from bratting to okay, territorial to I'm just gonna bite your head off. And I'm like, okay. So you go to the next type of sub we could talk about. The primal. Now I will tell anybody I am primal. I am primal. Pray all day long. I love it. It is not for everybody because it is a more rough type of play.
It's so instinctive and natural for those of us that are, in it.
So you have your primal dominance, you have your primal prey, which are your submissive. And I mean, I'm all for it. I will wrestle. Take me to the woods. Let's
Let's
go running and ripping
run.
and trip through the wood. I don't care.
Have this. Let's have a hunt. Let's do this.
I mean, look, what's the game we just play? Get hide and go seek. Give
Mm-hmm.
me count to 10. Let me run. Come find me.
This this that
I love it. It's again, it's not for everybody, and you have a lot of people that are more of the central, more of the softer individuals, which is cool. But then you have something that we just be like, you have dominant and it's submissive as well that bite, scratch. I mean, things like that. Very, very animalistic. Again, this has nothing to do with beast. And let's make it happy because I was told when I was speaking to about the littles to make sure that I specifically made the statement that
it's
it
not
is
pedophilia.
not anything to do with pedophilia. This is not anything that deals with children. We are talking about adults and age regression.
We are consensual. We are consensual adults, and age
Yes,
is not voluntary. It has nothing
yes.
to do with children.
And again, nothing to do with children. If you hear us say 2-year old, it's a grown
It's a
individual
grown woman.
that is in a 2-year old mindset. When you hear pet play, because you do have people, this is another type of submissive.
That would
You
be
have
me.
submissives that are pets. They like to dress up like cats. They like to dress up as dogs, animals, rabbits, whatever they feel like. I mean, I'm not a pet, but I like a good, big, nice, furry foxtail. Yes, man.
I like I classify as a pet. I want I want the fluffy bed. I want the ears. I want the little bell and the collar. I
See,
want
there you
I
go.
want head rubs. I want all that.
See, and see, mine would be more of a. I don't even think it's a role play because if I wear a foxtail, it's not because I'm a pet. I just like the foxtail and I like the plug that it's on. It's really a cool thing to me. I love foxtails.
See,
They're gorgeous
that
to me.
part ties in with my primal part
Yeah,
because I want
see,
to put the tail and the ears on, and I want to go on a hunt in the woods. Chase me.
see,
Work for that.
and that's because you're a pet. My primal side doesn't call for me actually dressing like a pet. My primal side is just it is what it is. I mean, pull my clothes off. I don't care.
I want all
Just
that.
look. But and you have some people their primal side is like wolves and things like that. You have your pack, things like that. It and again when we talk about pet play, we are not talking about bestiality. There are no real animals involved.
At all.
These are
Animals
consistent
cannot consent.
grown adults
Animals cannot consent.
that exactly that can consent and that can
That are in their right mind.
right. These are grown people.
See, now I'm excited.
So that we touched on what primal we did a little bit. So we talked about littles and the regression. And now you are I can say there are some littles and I think it's so cute. I've seen so many do it. And I've heard many acts about like playtimes. You do play dates.
Yes,
You dress up. You do all the stuff that a person that age would literally do. Color. watch cartoons, things
I do
like that.
pacifiers. I do sippy cups. I do milk bottles, that kind of thing. I also do want to like tag on to the whole little thing as, evolving in age wise. Sometimes our relationships with other people, our dynamics do evolve as well. For example, the dynamic between you and I has evolved into big sister, little sister kind of thing.
Absolutely. Because you are annoying as hell.
Why, thank you.
You're welcome.
I live to please.
Yes, absolutely. I went from interim mommy to basically we're like big sister, little sister now because that's not my space. That's not my role. And I think it's a disservice to anyone to operate in a role
That's not for you.
that's not for you. It's a disservice to that person that you are supposed to be responsible for. And also, it's a disservice to you because you are, in lack of better words, it's just neglect. You're neglecting a human being. If you can't be responsible for that person, then don't take that person on.
And that's why we talk about that shadow work and finding yourself kind of thing, because ultimately we found that we do work better as sisters.
Yeah, absolutely. Because she got on my nerve. And as a caregiver for
I,
her,
I mean,
while she was on her stuff for her mom, yeah. And one day it just was like, you know what? You're the like annoying little sister that I never had. Growing up as an only child, meet my annoying little sister that
hello.
I should have had from day one.
We kind of just woke up one day and I was like, hello, world. I have lived to see another day. I'm going to make it my big sister's problem.
Right. And I think she does that quite often.
Yeah,
But
that's my job.
yeah, and the good thing about it is, though, again, that shows evolution to me because when I first met her, she was really, really when she would go into Little Space, she was really into Little Space, and it was just like, and it was something that I never really had experienced. It wasn't something that I guess I can't not take care of her because there was so much that she had prior that she just kind of just for some reason just spilled over and told me about, and so it just became like,
We
oh, now I
clicked,
feel so
but
responsible for. Oh,
not in the way that we thought we clicked. We clicked in a way, but we figured out where we clicked later on down the road.
right, absolutely. So that's again, and that's how dynamics grow. That's how you figure out dynamics. A lot of times you can walk into a dynamic thinking, oh, this is going to be what it is, and then you turn around and you may just wind up being best of friends, or you might just wind up being play partners, or something like that. You never know. Just because you're dominant and this person is a submissive doesn't mean you're destined to be in a dynamic. And it's just, and again, I'm not a dominant. To each their own. I will say that I have concerns when like dominants have 3, 4, 5, 10 subs.
I
Because I
do,
always feel like somebody's gonna go
and get left behind.
and get it right. And people will be like, "Well, that's none of your business." Yeah, it's none of my business. And if you feel that you can do it, more power to you. And when people ask me about that, and they ask my opinion, and again, these are my opinions, my experience, my view has gone that way because of the experience with Lacey. I understand that even okay with my everyday life, the things that I had going on, because at that time I was all the time life flight. So I'm doing sometimes 24s. At that time, we were having a lot of storms and stuff. So I was
Yeah,
going out of town. I
he
was
had a very life.
out the country. I mean, just there was a lot of stuff going on. But at that time, it was a time where she needed that mommy figure there, and I wasn't able to do it. And it's like you're trying to juggle between, okay, when am I going to see her? When am I going to talk to her? There was
That's
times when if I was in the air, I couldn't talk. If I'm handling a case, I can't talk, and she might be texting, and if she have one of her fits because I'm not answering it, it's like
and to
you
a lot,
know
that can be the end of the world for their mommy and daddy to not answer them.
exactly.
And it's not to say I don't need a mommy now. I mean, I'm on that whole journey now. But back then it was neither one of us realized that we needed it. We had a relationship, but it wasn't the mommy baby kind.
Right. Our relationship wound up being I made her grow up.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way. Not saying that I dismissed her little or anything like that. Our relationship was, and it just came to the conclusion that my role in her life, yeah, is big sister, but I'm that big sister that gives you the kick in the butt that says, guess what? You need to learn what you're doing. You need to learn what this is. You need to find what works for you and who works for you.
Because we are complete opposites. I am all softness, and she is that tough love that is needed.
Yeah. And I'm going to be that. I'm going to be tough love. And that's not what works for her. It works for her in our dynamic as big sister, little sister, because, yeah, now you see, I'm telling you what's for you good. And it's not because I'm dismissing you or I don't want to be bothered. It's because my big sister's trying to look out for me.
See,
My big sister trying to make me
context of
sustainable where I can, because I'm not going to, and like I've always told her, I'm not going to be there. I'm not the one that's going to be out here looking for your mommy. I'm not the one that's going to be out here building your dynamic. These are things you have to do on your own. So, yep, you're getting that kick in your ass. Get up. I need you to start learning what this is. I need you to educate yourself on what this is. I'm going to teach you what you need to know. But guess what? You're going to be able, I don't care how much you regress, you're going to be able to be self-sustaining. And then I don't have to worry about kicking somebody's behind that you need something to a dynamic with because we'd have been there.
I did go through the sub frenzy. I have gone through that.
Yes, yes, yes. So it's amazing as a whole, and I think we'll kind of let it go here. But it's amazing as a whole. Wait, we can't talk about the implements. We talk about implements, but it's amazing as a whole. The type of relationships you build, the type of bonds you build. Everything isn't going to be a sexual bond with anybody. Everything is not going to be a seating bond. Everything isn't going to be something where you're physically interacting with each other. You have, like I said, like we've about big sister, little sister. I might pop her upside the head or something, but that's about as physical as going to get.
Yeah.
You know? So I mean, the relationships that you build in this community, they mean so much because, and a lot of times some of us need those because we don't, like I said, I grew up as the only child, so I didn't have brothers and sisters and things like I got a little sister and, it's like, okay, it's kind of cool. But we've known each other for what, 8, 9 years, maybe?
Going on 9 years now.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just like, okay, you're annoying. You've been here all this time, but go somewhere, sit down. you know? But
We
it's
have
that sisterly kind of thing. And it's fun because I didn't have that growing up. And I'm seeing so many dominants out here, they want to put on a show. Oh, I've got 3, 4, 5, 10 subs. Okay, and I'm looking at them sideways like, how because I couldn't even do one. Oh, and I know you're dealing with different personalities. You're dealing with different emotions.
and there's
And,
only 4 hours in a day.
and yeah, and there's only 24 hours a day. Somebody goes lacking somewhere. Again, to each their own. I'm not knocking what anybody else does, but I just think that again, because we see the dominants out here that really can't handle it. And it's a lot of show because this one might have 4 and they have this wonderful house. They have this wonderful dynamic going on between all of them. I'm going to do that too. It might not be for you. This is not a competition. Oh, just because you see one person's dynamic and it's beautiful, it's loving, don't get jealous of what they have. It takes a lot of work. Dynamics take a lot of work. And that's one thing, like we were saying in the beginning, a lot of people, they don't want that part. They just want that energy, that connection. Oh, we cuddle and oh, we all romantical and all this stuff when people see us doing scenes and it looks sexy and this, that, third, but they don't want to get the work to get to that part. Or they don't want the work to have that loyalty. They don't want to do the work to have that respect between the two.
They don't want the storms. They just want the smooth sailing. They don't want the rough seas.
Right, and it's a whole lot of rough stuff, honey, that comes in between there. Because guess what? You got to get right. You know what? Both of you have to have that agreement. Both of you just work on both sides of that slash.
No one comes to lifestyle knowing everything.
Right, and you're always gonna keep learning. So that is that. And let me see. So we have come to a whole probably about 2 hours or so.
Mm-hmm. Again,
I think we can stop here. You work. What can I give you to come back with next week? I think one of the biggest things right now would be to take the roles that we talked about, but and when you read a part, I guess kind of like just digging and asking yourself, where do you fit in? Let's talk about that real quick. Because the next thing is like, once you get all these roles, how do you know where you fit in? And someone asked that in the group the other day, and I did say we would get to that in this podcast. Where do you fit in? How do you figure it out? Some people are natural dominants. Some people are natural submissive. And I think even being a natural dominant or a natural submissive, there's still stuff to learn. You know what I'm saying? It's not, some people can be a natural dominant, but they can't take on the responsibility of a dominant. They don't know how. So you still have to learn like the responsibilities that are involved and things like that. We say experiment. That's a good way to really understand where you fit in. What more can you say? Experiment. There's no harm in trying something. And this is also where a good mentor comes in, because that mentor has experience. So you can sit down and have the conversation. Well, what about such and such? You can role play through a conversation. Through conversation doesn't necessarily have to be like physical role play. You can role play scenarios and see how you would react or how you would handle certain situations in that role. Would you be comfortable with that? And I mean, you just kind of pick and choose where you feel comfortable. That's what we've been saying. A lot of people say the BDSM. Okay, so with the BDSM test, I do not suggest the BDSM test, and this is just my personal preference, simply because it's kind of
ever changing,
and it kind of depends. Okay, so this is again of evolution comes in. What feels good for you at the moment? I can speak from experience because I've tried it. So I can take the BDSM test right now. I can turn around and take it tomorrow, and my answers can be totally different because maybe I don't feel the same way I felt today, so I answered in a different one. And I've done it, not intentionally answering different. Each time I did it with, just open and honest answering of the questions, but it was how I felt at the moment. I don't really suggest like taking it today and then pop up taking it tomorrow. I don't suggest taking it today and taking it next week. I think the BDSM test has its place, but I think it's more so something that you do today and you might not do for another 6 months or so, just to check and see how you evolved, if you have evolved. Those are a couple of ways to find out. But when you first come in, don't focus on racism, because you're always going to find some place where you fit in. If that's what works for you and fulfills you at that moment, then that's what you operate in. Does that mean claim every role? No, absolutely not. We're not talking about having a frenzy. You get tied up, you're excited. Oh, now I'm a robot. You get hit with a flogger and a count of nines, and oh, now I'm a hard bottom. No, not that. But you gear yourself towards what most stands out to you. So that is a long 2 hours, but I love it. If y'all do not know, I cannot stand talking. That's why I like having somebody on with me, because just me talking.
But with a good person, time flies.
Absolutely, like it always does when we do this. It flies, and we wind up being on here for 2 hours. So absolutely, we do enjoy doing this. So we're growing. This is something that we're babies at. So we're making it come together. Um, and it's coming. We are on Spotify. We are iHeart Radio, Apple Podcasts. We do have YouTube. When we start doing lives, I will start shooting the podcast over to our YouTube channel just because it is big. I'm looking at going to a Amazon platform for podcasts as well. I mean, we are Twisted will be 2 in February, so we're doing a lot of changes. We're getting ourselves back up and running because we were gone for about what, a year maybe?
Yeah, almost a year.
Yeah. So we're coming back strong. So we're building. We are going to Discord. Right now we're on Facebook. We do have a Facebook group where you can search Twisted Elegance. It is a private group, but it does come up. You can find us there. We do have a messenger chat right now that is private. But we are looking to move everything over to Discord. Sir Sheer and Lacey are working on getting our Discord server up and running. Up there, just tweaking it and making it all nice and twisted and elegant for them. So we will be moving to Discord here in the near future. We are having our 2-year anniversary dungeon in February, on February 22nd. We are now starting to promote it. It's going to be in Durham, North Carolina. So you guys got to come out and celebrate with us. It is our 2-year anniversary. It's my birthday. It's Sir Shear's birthday. We got a couple birthdays floating around here. So we're just going to have us an Aquarian vibe going on. It's a black and purple event. So hopefully you guys can come out and have fun with us. We're going to have a showcase of some amazing presenters, some erotic poetry, some burlesque dancing. We got Fat Unicorn coming out vending. So we're excited about our birthday event. What else? We are on Instagram. You can follow us on Instagram at Twisted Elegance North Carolina. Actually, it's Twisted Elegance in C. Yeah. Our email is twistedelegancenc as well at gmail.com. What else? We're out. We're around. You guys gotta come in and hang out with us. Look us up. Give us some feedback on how we're doing. Shoot us some questions. Give us something to talk about while we're here. We are here for you guys. I'm saying all the pertinent stuff I need to say. Lacey, do you have anything else you want to say?
Just wanted to say that we're an open-minded group, and we're very welcoming. We look forward to seeing anybody that would join.
Yes, we're very open-minded and welcoming. Isn't that sweet? See, look, our resident welcome committee right here. Love it. So you guys have a wonderful night. We enjoyed doing this. We enjoyed being here. Lacey loves doing this, so I think I'm gonna keep dragging her on to do it.
It's fun, y'all.
Well, she's definitely got some good information to impart as well. So you guys have an amazing night. I always like to say, if there's anything you need, any type of help, any type of situation that you might find yourself in, you need some resources in your area or you're local to us and you need help, please let us know. Don't hesitate to call again. We're here to be a safe place. We're here to be welcoming and we're here to help. So if you need us, let us know. We are Twisted Elegance of North Carolina. You guys have a great night and stay twisted.